Evidently, we have seen how e-commerce has evolved in the country in just a couple of months. We are now accustomed to online groceries, food deliveries, and take-home food kits from restaurants, even the sudden rise of online food communities. How is the Philippines already gearing up for the future of e-commerce and e-payments? Well, let's hear it from PLDT Enterprises Vice President and Head of ICT Business Solutions, Mr. Nico Alcoseba.
Good afternoon to everyone, and I hope you are all keeping safe. I'm really excited to open this topic because e-commerce has been elevated into everyone's consciousness. Some willingly, others not by choice. And I do hope in the next 10 minutes, we somehow provide you with new insights and concrete takeaways as we embark in this e-commerce journey together. Allow me to begin with this thought. Anything that changes values changes behavior. And social scientists say that true lasting change only happens when our own innate human behaviors are altered. It took a pandemic to make it happen, but indeed, our values and priorities have been irreversibly reshaped. Consumption behavior has also changed in tandem, and e-commerce is at the front and center of this social shift, not only helping us bring some sense of normalcy to daily life, but more importantly, accelerating the entire ecosystem that enables and supports it. This has created new jobs where others were lost, established new businesses when others had shuttered, rebuilt hope where there was uncertainty and distress. This massive flight to online has manifested in many facets of the e-commerce ecosystem, and these exponential growth numbers we see in consumer adoption show how our own personal transformations into a digital lifestyle have rapidly reached scale in such a condensed period of time. In fact, the latest statistics from global data show that Philippine e-commerce transactions will grow to roughly 1.4% of GDP from 1.1% a year ago. This translates to more than 5 billion US dollars in e-commerce value by 2021. Extending this to 2025, a Google study sees this figure ballooning to 12 billion. Clearly, this is behavior that is here to stay. The challenge now for many businesses is how to manage this shift to an online operation from mainly an in-store model, or from being largely brick and mortar to optimally bricks and clicks. Many of the larger retailers, as well as platforms born in e-commerce, successfully navigated this journey, having the benefit of past experience and constant iteration over time. It is our intent in the following slides to help other businesses who wish to attain the same level of success by imparting some key characteristics of a winning digital experience, as well as the enabling technologies that can bring these to life in your own organizations. First, the first characteristic is that the experience has to be easy. Of course, this has many aspects, delving into user experience, such as the speed and responsiveness of the website and or application, as well as the ease of navigation within the platform, not to mention the actual content that should be understandable and relatable to your audience. But beyond this, in our current environment where customers will get in touch with you through multiple digital channels, it's crucial to have your website, social media accounts, application, and even hotline unified so that your customer has the same experience regardless of where they choose to engage with you. This is achieved by shifting from a multi-channel approach to an omni-channel system, where the interaction history with the same customer across the different channels is tracked within the bounds of the Data Privacy Act, thereby achieving a single customer view and a personalized experience, which today is what they call a hygiene factor, something that's very basic or even taken for granted, but whose absence has a huge impact on customer satisfaction. The second characteristic is that the experience has to be immediate. A manual approach to consummate a purchase or having to get back to customers on inventory availability and delivery lead times in today's on-demand economy will result in customer fallout and opportunity loss. Customers today expect to complete the transaction end-to-end quickly and conveniently. And this means a company must tie up all ends. Front end at the website or application through payment options, back end by an accounting system and inventory system, and at the far end with integration with delivery and logistics, whether your own or your partners. Third, the experience has to be always on. The brick and mortar concept of store hours, opening times, and closing times simply do not exist in the realm of bricks and clicks. For the online consumer, there is only one paradigm of time: my time. Customers expect to be served when and where they choose, and so system uptime is an obvious must. And this business continuity is critical for both the back-end infrastructure, which supports the automation and integration that makes the experience easy and immediate, as well as the network connectivity that enables your customer to access your digital assets. Last, and possibly the most reputationally important characteristic, the experience has to be secure. It's all about trust and reputation. With the spike in usage of online platforms, there has definitely been a spike in cybercriminal activity. In fact, during the first half of the year, our EPLDT Security Operations Center detected and mitigated between 3 times more to 15 times more cyber threats, depending on the type of attack, versus the same period last year. Hand in glove to this would be data privacy considerations, since there can be no security without privacy and vice versa. Note though, the common misconception is that cyber attacks only happen to the larger companies who have more data, but global trends have clearly shown that cyber criminals target everyone across the spectrum. It's therefore a matter of It's therefore not a matter of if, but when. Now that we've seen the different characteristics of a winning digital experience, allow us to share the solutions that make it happen. In order to enable an easy experience, there's PLDT Enterprise Contact Center as a service, which provides omni-channel contact center solutions. Adjacent to this, it would be the Salesforce Customer Relationship Management System, which will enable integration of various customer touchpoints into a single customer view. In order to enable immediacy, we have payment solutions such as PayMaya, which have both online and in-store options. We also have enterprise resource planning practices based on SAP, Microsoft Dynamics, and our newest offering for SMEs, simply ERP, in order to tie up your back-end and far-end. In order to be always on, we have Vitro data centers, which have remained 100% up throughout this pandemic and are designed and operated to withstand any disaster, whether natural or man-made. We also have our Managed Operations Center services, whereby we proactively monitor the performance of your infrastructure and alert you of any potential problem that may result in system downtime. Lastly, in order to be secure, we have a whole suite of ePLDT cybersecurity services. We can start with the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, where we crawl your network, search for vulnerabilities, and recommend mitigating measures. We also have a practice around data privacy consulting in order to ensure your compliance to the provisions of RA 10173 or the Data Privacy Act. And lastly, we have our Security Operations Center services, where we monitor any potential cyber attack into your network and mitigate it before it does any damage. Putting all these solutions together to make it work for your own operation can seem complicated. At PLDT Enterprise, we aim to make a positive impact on every single business and simplify the complexities of technology to enable our clients to succeed in today's hyper-changing marketplace. And we hope this session has piqued your curiosity to imagine new possibilities with us. We look forward to partnering with you as you continue in your e-commerce journey and beyond. Thank you for your time and attention, and a pleasant afternoon to everyone. At this point, I would like to introduce Mr. Guilherme de Mora Porto, Operations Director for Foodpanda Philippines, to tell us more about the future of e-commerce in the country.
Foodpanda is currently a food delivery business as the core. We're currently supposed to be the biggest player, not only in the Philippines, but in the APAC region, the fastest, with the most volume of options, and with the best experience possible. Currently, we're a food delivery business, but in the future, we're headed to having our kitchens, having our brands, and having also other deliveries. Foodpanda is a business that is supposed to be on the street. The food is not going to be prepared itself, and the food's not going to be delivered alone. We're a marketplace, so we needed a lot of players and a lot of people involved in this industry to make it happen. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we had to adapt. We had to understand how to provide the best service for our riders and vendors and restaurants. Each city had a different regulation for the food business to be operated. We had to learn how to deal with the blockages and the riders to keep delivering and the vendors to keep their restaurants open. For a rider to start working, in the end, he needs to have a motorcycle or a bicycle. He needs to have data in his cell phone. He needs to have access to connect. For the future, with the volume of city expansions that we're expecting, with the volume of new verticals that we're supposed to launch, and more vendors and riders onboarding on a daily basis, we need to provide them the conditions for it to happen. PLDT is going to be key for us to keep providing conditions and access for those involved parties to keep working.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nico Alcoseba and Mr. De Porto, for your insights. It does indeed look like exciting things are coming discontinuously on the rice sector. Now, our next guest speaker has held various roles in Credit Suisse, both in Singapore and in London. Most recently, he has served as the group's vice president and fixed income strategist over in Singapore. Now, here to share his insights on how consumer behavior has changed because of the crisis, as well as some of the challenges that his team has encountered this year, being one of the biggest players in e-commerce here in Southeast Asia. Let's please welcome the Associate Director of Shopee Philippines, Mr. Martin Yu. Hi, Martin, and welcome to the stream.
Thank you.
Now, Martin, everyone knows what Shopee is. It's a huge brand and it's one of the most famous ones during the pandemic. It's especially boomed in this period. Tell us more about your experience and how it has been for you guys thus far.
Sure. I'll give a brief background just in case people are not as familiar. So Shopee is the leading e-commerce platform in Southeast Asia and Taiwan. We actually launched in 2015 and tailored our platform for the region, providing customers with an easy, secure, and fast online shopping experience through strong payments and fulfillment support. Now, I mean, COVID-19 pandemic has really brought around large-scale social and behavioral changes, and changes have motivated consumers to become online first when it comes to meeting their everyday needs, while brands and sellers go online as well to search for growth. So what happened when COVID hit? Actually, the pandemic further propelled the adoption of e-commerce in the country. The demography of online shoppers is becoming more diverse as more Filipinos turn to e-commerce for the added convenience and access to essential needs. So Shopee has also observed a widening appeal of online shopping, with older consumers and buyers in cities around the capital shopping more actively on the platform. As such, we've taken quite a few initiatives to innovate our platform to build on existing efforts to elevate the online shopping experience of our shoppers. For example, we curated several, for the onset of the pandemic, we introduced the 5/5 Shopee Mart sale due to the increasing demand for personal and household essentials. And as fashion became a popular category in the Philippines, we also launched the 8/8 fashion sale, whereby shoppers were able to enjoy exclusive discounts and promotions. Actually, currently we're ongoing with the 9/9 Super Shopping Day, our annual signature shopping campaign, and several exciting promos, deals, and prizes in all 7 Shopee markets. So the 9/9 Super Shopping Day this year takes on greater significance as communities step up their recovery efforts and adapt to the new normal. Shopee outlines 3 commitments. It wants to provide a super ecosystem, supercharge recovery for sellers and brands, and deliver a super collection of entertainment and deals. So further, e-commerce has evolved into something more than just a way to shop. It's become a place where people have come together to interact, read content, and connect with others. Shopee has seen greater use of its in-app engagement features, such as Shopee Live, and in the past few months, as Filipinos seek to stay connected more online. Likewise, several brands and sellers took the opportunity to venture online to grow their business and accelerate their digitalization efforts and future-proof their operations. To aid this movement, Shopee actually introduced an array of support initiatives to help sellers, like the 200 million peso seller support package and the seller loan program with BillEase to help SMEs and sellers tied through this period. Further, Shopee ramped up Shopee University classes, a program we first introduced in 2017 to share lessons to help sellers boost their sales on the platform. So we've been very happy to be part of what's been growing in this space.
Martin, you mentioned here that e-commerce has been on the rise. Shopee has managed to ride that wave even before this pandemic and lockdown came. But Shopee also has a lot of products that are, let's say, considered non-essential in this period where people have, tighter consumer pockets. They're much pickier in terms of their buying habits. But at the same time, there's still, as you mentioned, an increase in people wanting to buy these things, especially with physical malls now shut down. How are you navigating this? What are the new trends that you are seeing in terms of the buying behavior, especially here in the Philippines?
So I want to contrast and compare against the other buyers in the region. Actually, again, there's been a big shift to e-commerce, and in the past months, we've seen a big surge in people looking for health and fashion products, and of course, at the same time, there's this greater adoption for digital payments across the region. But in the Philippines in particular, aside from just looking for these health and fashion products, there's a big demand for engagement and entertainment while they're shopping online, which is a bit different to the other markets. So Shopee's actually continued to partner with the likes of Wawawin Primetime to offer shoppers greater fun and entertainment while they shop online. And there's a lot of usage in our in-app engagement features such as Shopee Live, and that's really had quite a different impact to shoppers.
Now that we are 5 months into the lockdown, have you seen a, let's say, normalization in terms of, it was very difficult to get our hands on any item at the beginning due to logistics issues, due to supply chain issues. A lot of your products come from abroad as well. Now, what is your solution here for a long-term sustainable e-commerce platform where everything is engaged? You had mentioned already, the payment platforms have significantly improved, but there's still the question on logistics, on safety, on being able to have products that are safe and meet those safety protocols. How are you able to make sure that this all runs very smoothly? And have you been able to navigate these waters already?
So thankfully, we've been working with a lot of partners, and really they've taken this together with our own logistics efforts, and we've grown it remarkably well. I think in the initial stages, there were a lot of us working with the government to understand the rules but since then, we've been able to scale up our operations, and we continue to scale it up as demand actually continues to rise, particularly as we head into Q4 of this year. And that's something we expect to continue, and that's us working with the different riders, with the different organizations. We've also set up, as digital payments grows, alternative methods of payment outside of what's the norm.
How has your engagement with the customer changed? You mentioned that it's more than just a platform where you can buy things, right? You mentioned that this is also a place where there's interaction, you can give reviews, you can make products better, and you can set trends, for example. How have you made that more personal in this period where things are so isolated?
So actually, it's for us enhancing the features that already existed. And on one side, you highlighted giving reviews, and that's something we continue to encourage buyers to do, because we want to let them know, or we want other shoppers to know as well, whether or not they're getting the good products. At the same time, there's so much more focus on engagement and social interaction. So Shopee Live, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of sellers are actually taking advantage, because now they have a direct line to their consumers. They're able to talk about their products and basically get face-to-face interaction, if you can say it that way, for people to describe their products and really sell it directly to their consumers, and that's growing even more every day.
Thank you, Martin. Now, at this point, I do want to reintroduce to our stream here Mr. Nico Alcoseba. Nico, are you there? Yes, to join in this conversation, because in your talk just a few minutes earlier, you had highlighted the fact that despite, everyone's excited about e-commerce, everyone wants this shift to digital buying, but not everyone, especially here in the Philippines, MSMEs, not everyone can afford a platform, not everyone can invest in all of this technology. What is the big bottleneck here, and what's your plan to address this?
Thank you for that question, Danny. I just wanted to comment, Martin. So it's really more fun in the Philippines, because only in the Philippines do we see engagement in your app. But that being said, well, Danny, it's a very relevant question today, because as we have seen, this pandemic has really affected especially small businesses. And the shift to digital is not a simple one. It's very complex. But if we look at the more successful digital platforms, such as Shopee, on a global and regional perspective, it really has 4 characteristics. The platform has to be easy to use. It has to have an immediate experience. It has to be always on. And it has to be secure. The challenge, I think, for MSMEs is that there's this perception that in order to achieve these characteristics, it's expensive and it's complicated. And I think that's where PLDT Enterprise, together with ePLDT, can come in to understand the requirements of our market segments, because there are different solutions depending on the scale of your operation. So maybe to give you an example, just recently, normally, enterprise resource planning systems, or ERPs, which are critical to automating inventory and to automating processes, which is very important in an e-commerce operation, they used to be quite expensive. But we partnered with one of the global pace-setting brands to come up with a product called Simple ERP. It's at a price point that's at 10,000 pesos per month, and it allows MSMEs to automate their backend, which is the first step toward an online operation.
Okay.
A second way we are helping SMEs is through our Beyond Fiber program. So I hope you've seen the ads. But for Beyond Fiber, what we hope to do is provide not just connectivity, which is really the baseline and the foundation of any online operation, but the higher value-added services as well that are needed. So, for example, we also provide the managed services to make sure that their network is up before it even has any trouble. We also have security services because, as we've seen from our EPLDT Security Operations Center, cyber attacks have actually grown between 3 times to 15 times, depending on the type of cyber attack. So as usage has spiked online, then cyber criminals have also hiked up their activity, and no one is spared. MSMEs may think that they are not targets, but everyone is a target. So what we've done is we've tried to democratize our security operations center, our endpoint advanced security, and our different services that enable SMEs to secure their operation as they go online.
And this is,
Through those,
yes, go ahead, Nico.
so through these initiatives, what we tell our clients though is that it's not one size fit all. So what we want to do is really work with them to see what their needs are, and they don't need to start with the whole bells and whistles. We can begin with what's basic, what's important, what's most essential, and what can make the most positive impact on their business. So we simplify the complex for them so they can just focus on engaging their customers and growing their business.
Okay, so it's actually something that's quite feasible now, that perhaps before the pandemic might have been a more expensive venture to be dealt with. Martin, I just want to ask, in terms of Shopee, now there's going to be increasing competition, and Nico was pointing out about the MSMEs needing much more help perhaps than the bigger guns. Is there not this risk that the bigger players will swallow, the market share and become the more dominant players here? How do you protect the small and medium-sized players in a platform like Shopee?
No, so I think in situations like this, competition is actually something that will help, and a lot of times it's us helping MSMEs get that right exposure, because it's people coming from different backgrounds who are now given this, if I may say, a level playing field to show off their goods, and that's something we're very proud of in Shopee, that we do quite strongly. And do we think it's already starting to get to the point where it's closing off the industry? I think actually that e-commerce is still in very early stages. The industry is quite young, I might say, for the Philippines, and the runway is actually pretty high. So the more people participate, it actually just grows the market as a whole.
Okay, so more competition, actually, the better also for consumers. And finally, Nico, before I let you guys go, I'm really curious about the PLDT Enterprise Solutions when it comes to far-flung areas, right? So when you talk about Metro Manila and even Shopee and logistics, it's fairly easy to get a product in one day. I can order it and get it in a day. But when you talk about providing enterprise solutions to MSMEs in other provincial areas where their bread and butter was really, direct customers, and really engaging with their clients, what's the solution there?
Well, thank you for that. I think one of the advantages that PLDT has is that it's an integrated telco, that it can serve our customers with different types of solutions depending on where they are and what they need. So for the far-flung areas that do not have fixed connectivity, we do have our smart wireless connectivity. And in fact, we are expanding our LTE network to ensure that the internet in more far-flung areas can accommodate the boom in e-commerce and can accommodate new buying behaviors of our customers, regardless of where they are.
Martin, have you found difficulty in addressing this particular issue, servicing clients and their needs in other areas of the country?
No, that's definitely something we need, and we're very, very, very happy to hear this as initiatives from PLDT. Basically, I think internet speed is one of our key blockers infrastructurally, and we're very happy to be supporting any of that.
Okay, so thank you for that. I think more collaboration is definitely needed here. It's a huge Pandora's box that must be opened, and this is the perfect opportunity to be finding those opportunities and harnessing on technology and also the new boom in e-commerce. Thank you so much for those insights, Martin Yu of Shopee, and of course, Nico Alcoseba from PLDT.